All right, welcome back to another edition of Terminus Sports podcast. We're back. Georgia beats Texas in overtime, back-to-back overtime games, 2019. Well, one of us was pretty confident until Carson Beck was laying on the floor of the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And then the other one was not too confident, but was confident as the game kept going. So I don't – who's to say whose that is? But our friend Chip Carey would like to have a word about just the Georgia football season in general. Well, he said Braves, but point is, against all odds, wow, what a team. Warriors mentality, pretty good win.
Yeah, an excellent win. To the players, we talked about this. To the players, the game, the SEC championship, obviously means a lot. So I appreciate just all season. I know I've been very critical of the flaws this team has. And they do have some flaws, but one thing they're not short of is heart and the heart of a champion. I mean, it's the championship DNA that you have to. It reminds me of the old Bama teams. You got to kill them dead. 9 overtimes in 2 games. It's unbelievable. As bad as Georgia looked in the first half, and we looked pretty bad, right? We were still only down 6-3. Then you see Carson Beck. I mean, the storylines in this game. Then you see your starting quarterback, who was Heisman, talked about as a Heisman candidate, right? He's laying on the ground. He can't go. Gunnar Stockton, who's really had no meaningful time at all, he comes in, and the spark that had for whatever reason, their backs were against the wall. They knew they were going to have every position group was going to have to be better. I think it opened up some things in the running game, which we can talk about a little bit later on. But I think ETN made the biggest, most explosive run we've had all year, that 47, 48-yarder. Right. And then the cojones to call a fake punt when we needed it. The time of possession completely changed. First half, we didn't get the ball that much.
We did. We kept punting it away and have 3 outs.
Yeah. And then it completely, turned around at the end of the game. And then the heart of Gunnar Stockton when he got blew the hell up, boy, coming across. I don't know if that would have been, and I'm not saying it was targeting. I think he led with his shoulder pad, and I think he, hit him. I don't know. I like that it wasn't a targeting, but I can promise you this.
It will be.
If it was Georgia, it would have been called targeting, right? And it didn't matter that we shoved still, no targeting. Quarterback Carson Beck, who's basically, it's just an extremity dangling on at the shoulder, comes out, takes a snap, and offensive line just blows them off the ball. I thought ETN, he was big coming back. I didn't think he gutted it out. I didn't think he was quite as explosive as he was, but still excellent game. Offensive line. Second half was, again, one of the better performances. They were whipping Texas, who's number 1 defense. They were whipping their butt up front for a large part of the second half. So kudos to them. Again, Chad Chambliss, huge game. I thought he played really well.
On the goal line too.
I'm sorry. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. And then I thought the defensive line, McLeod played a big role. That rotation did an excellent job. I mentioned it to you. How many times the running back got the ball and ran in the back of one of their offensive line? It was a lot, man.
Yeah.
That Georgia was.
Yeah. I would have. I liked the Skycast a lot. The only problem wasn't it like kind of late fourth quarter? The score bug just went away. Really, I don't even need the score bug. I just need the time clock.
Yeah, we need it. Yeah. But I agree with you.
great. And if I know in the playoffs, it'll probably be available for Georgia fans to watch. It's a lot better than the national guys, especially Herbstreit, your boy. You could see it every single time Texas took a snap. Our defensive line was pushing them back either 3 yards or pushing them back a yard, but there was not a lot of push for Texas on offense.
And again, our defensive front was able to get after yours, was sacked 6 times, right? Threw 2 picks to Dylan Everett. Obviously, he had a good game as well. But overall, gutsy performance, man. If you would have told me, I don't know, if you would have told me midway through the year, just based on what I'd seen, I would say the chances of us, first of all, remember, we kind of backed our way into the SEC championship a couple of weeks ago. Right. If you would have told me we would have been SEC champs, I'd have been like, wow, I don't see that coming. And now I know I'm getting ahead of where we want to go, but the CFP committee or whatever did us a favor by putting us in that bracket. I do believe we got the easier draw by being the 2nd seed. So we can talk about more of that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. So Josh Pate always talks about padlock stats. This to me, I said it in the podcast last week whenever we were previewing the game and making our predictions. I said what Georgia did to Texas wasn't a fluke because, I mean, the style that they play with is very favorable for Kirby Smart and Glenn Schumann. That is their bread and butter. And with UMass and Tech, completely different. You have to honor the quarterback run. And also, it just didn't look like the defensive line wanted to even be there a lot of the times. And a large portion, especially the Tech game, till the second half, the defense really did nothing. The defensive line did. So here's the stat. We rushed for 141 yards. Texas only rushed for 31 yards.
Yeah. And Georgia hasn't been a good rushing team all year, really.
No, and Texas, their whole MO was to control the clock, limit our possessions, score whenever they needed to score, and then play good defense. They have the best defense in the country. But when you turn the ball over and you can't run the ball, we all know it as Georgia fans who are watching this, that's where you get into trouble. And that's exactly where Texas was Saturday night. Now, we gave them every opportunity to win that game.
They could have put it away if they'd have scored in the red zone in the first half.
Right.
It would have been too big of a deficit.
Right. If they scored there at any point of the game, it would have been too big of a deficit. We gave Gunner that pick. I know he was trying to throw that ball away, but I kind of expected it given kind of the situation. By the way, I went back and I watched the second half of the game. That holding call was on Jared Wilson.
Oh, it's bad call.
On that drive?
Yeah, bad call.
Terrible.
No, I totally agree. I said that at the time. Yeah.
Terrible. And then, Steve Sarkisian, he can cry all he wants at halftime about, us, them getting holding calls called against them. There should have been a lot more holding calls because there were a couple, especially on that touchdown, the one touchdown that they had. That was a holding on the end. Just saying, but whatever. That interception could have been a big moment. And then in overtime, and then the Nate Frazier fumble. Sorry, I got way ahead of myself. Nate Frazier fumble. That could have been big. Anthony Evans on that jet sweep fumbled. Could have been another big one. So it's a game of inches. And like you said, this was kind of very reminiscent of what Alabama used to do to Georgia.
Yeah. Yeah.
And hopefully it stays that way. I hope we just own Texas like Alabama owns us. Or has owned us. I don't know if it's still possible or not. We'll see. But
all I know is they're sitting at home and we're going to the Sugar Bowl. So
I will say this was a I think one of the cultures, like this was a culture moment for Georgia because you had everyone complaining about our culture on the outside. You had everyone talking about our culture and Georgia's, Miami or Florida back in its day and just criminals running the prison. And then you see what happens. You have Carson go down. You have your fucking punter out for the rest of the season down. You got a banged up running back who transferred from your rival. You got a wide receiver that can't catch multiple
actually.
You got one that like literally cannot catch the ball. He tries to use his body to catch it and he still can't catch it. He's Osmosis Jones. And then you have all these problems and your defense just got ripped to shreds last week against Tech.
2 weeks in a row, really.
Yeah, 2 weeks in a row. And here you are. They say you might be in the playoff in this game, but who really knows? You're back against the wall and you show out and you win. That's like the Alabama mystique that Saban had. Right. That is the power G showing up and winning you a ball game. That's culture. And I think for Kirby, also at the end of the game, calling out Sankey, that was a fuck you to the rest of the conference and really the rest of the country.
And really good for him because this, I know I don't want to get too far in it because we're not going to solve it, but this whole thing with the seeding and then and how they're valuing strength of schedule, which tells me they're really not valuing a strength of schedule. If the goal is to get the 12 best teams, we have failed. Given the parameters, I know you said, given the parameters, they did about what they had to do, but the seeding in this doesn't make any sense. And Sankey, if they got to make these schedules more equitable somehow. You can't have look at Texas' schedule just within conference, right?
Yeah.
Texas schedule versus Georgia. So I'm glad Kirby said something about it, and it looked like it. Really, I don't know if it's just the way he was looking, but I think it really pissed Sankey off. And
go ahead.
No, and like you said, Sankey, he said all the shit about Texas, but he really didn't say anything about the University of Georgia or anything like that, right? So I'm glad Kirby did that.
The whole thing was thanks to ESPN and ABC for broadcasting this game. And congratulations on Texas on a great season and a hard-fought game. And then said, and here's your 2024 SEC champions, the Georgia Bulldogs. He said nothing like, hey, guys, hell of a season. You're banged up. You're out of the playoffs. And now you got an automatic bid and probably the number 2 team. That's a hell of a job, Kirby and team. Good job. Nothing. And then when Kirby called him out, he stood there like, pissy. And then went up to Kirby, and you can read the lips. I think you were the one that read his lips. Or like, are you being? What did he say? Are you being serious or something along that nature?
Something. There was something you're talking about. I could read Kirby's lips.
Yeah,
and Sankey had said something, and Kirby said, "Are you being serious?"
Yeah,
That's what I thought that on that exchange is what happened. But I'm not a lip reader.
So I think it really bothered. But look, Texas, the SEC, you're welcome. The rest of the SEC, the old guard, we stood valiantly for a good cause because I hate Texas, and this has been known.
Well, that's another thing. We don't have to get too far into it, but I have heard that Texas, the fans of Texas and Texas are lobbying that the championship game needs to be played in Dallas.
Yeah.
And they're wanting to tilt the entire Southeastern Conference to Texas. It doesn't work that way. Not here. And that's not going to happen. So they need to know that.
Well, also, you're going to a conference whose furthest Western team was in Louisiana for 90-plus years and telling them, hey, you need to change your ways. No. You came and joined us for the money. All right? We were better without you. You make it a little bit better with you here. But if we lose you, we keep moving. So Texas has got to realize they're not big. They're not running the Big 12 anymore.
That's right.
There's multiple big dicks at the table.
That's right. You're not
And
going to come in and tell a LSU or a Georgia or an Alabama, what to do, or Florida even.
Florida,
Tennessee.
Auburn and Tennessee will have a fit.
Yeah.
And they think they have a bigger dick than what they do. But, that is the thing that is bothersome to me because Texas just cannot run this conference. And if they won it their first year, it would have been a bad slippery slope. So you're welcome to the rest of the SEC. We held the honor. All right. Kind of get out of the game out of the way. We'll talk about the playoffs in a minute. Carson, this is being recorded Monday after late evening or early evening, late afternoon. So Carson, Georgia came out with a statement about an hour ago of this recording, basically saying there's no return timetable yet. Carson's and his family are going to go get a second opinion and see what they can do. If I'm reading into that, obviously it's more than a grade 1 sprain. Okay, so if it was a sprain in the UCL joint, it would be 1 to 2 weeks timetable and, just sit on it, rest it, which is what Josh Allen did last year. He had a strain in his UCL, and he came back within a week. So that's not going to happen. So I would assume it's either a grade 2 or a grade 3. I don't know. Hopefully it's a grade 2. That would mean 6 weeks without surgery. So obviously they're saying surgery. He's wanting to see if they need to have surgery or not. 6 weeks without surgery or with I would assume that surgery would speed it up, right?
I don't know. I'm out over my skis on this. All I can say is when someone typically goes to get a second opinion, that means the first opinion, they weren't real happy with the answers. Right. Outside of that, I don't know. I think
But we'll find out. We'll have a concrete answer soon. More than likely, he probably played his last snap at Georgia. What a great way to your last snap. I mean, I know he would probably want his last snap to be a knee in the national championship. But what a great story to end it on. And now it's time to look at Gunner. Hopefully he comes back if we play Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl and win, or Indiana. We'll see. But it's now Gunner, and he's got 3 weeks, really 4 weeks. He's got a month, a little less than a month to get ready, and hopefully, bail us out another time.
If Carson can't come back, the good news, I guess, is you get more time. I know Kirby addressed this yesterday, I think, in the press conference. You get more time to get Gunner comfortable with certain aspects of the game. I think it changes Georgia's offense a little bit.
Yeah, it does.
I think it does put more pressure on the offensive line, probably takes some of the pressure off the receivers, which can't be a bad thing based on what I've seen, and more on the running game. But, I think we can, if the defense continues to play like they played, we should be able to handle whether it's Indiana or Notre Dame. We should be able to handle them. I do believe that.
Yeah.
Now the next round, if we get, I think Penn State would be a possibility. It's probably the strongest possibility of who we might end up playing. I feel okay. I don't feel great, but I feel okay that Gunner can probably get us through that game as well.
Right.
And when we get to the national championship level,
yeah,
that's where you need somebody that can stand in the pocket and zip it down the field and read defenses and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying that Gunner can't read defenses. I'm sure he can, but you just need need somebody that has a special arm. And Gunner, let's face it, he doesn't have the arm that Carson Beck has. So he's more of a runner, and adds that dimension to Georgia's offense. And I hope Bobo and staff could figure out a way to use him effectively. And I think they can.
Yeah. I from watching Saturday, and I know I haven't crushed him, but I haven't been very kind to him whenever he has played. I just don't think he's the answer. And I could be totally wrong. I mean, it could be – well, I was never wrong about Stetson. I just want to put that out there. Never was wrong about him. But speaking of Stetson, I see where people can compare him to Stetson. I can see it. There's a little bit – but he's got – to me, Gunner's got a little bit more of a tote. You know, he's got something that he carries with him whenever he runs over guys. And to me, whenever he ran over that Texas defender and started talking shit, I like that. I'm cool with that. So, you know, we got a guy who's a competitor.
That loves the University of Georgia too.
Yeah, and he stayed here and through all this stuff. I mean, Stetson, Carson, he's been through it all. So the guy loves Georgia. He's a Georgia kid, so it's easy to root for him and hope that he does well. My question would be, and Kirby will never answer this, but how long is the leash on Gunner? Because, I mean, do you go to Puglisi, or you can go to Rashada, who I'm going to cough. But
well, while you're coughing, one thing I would just say.
Yeah,
Kirby let slip who the third string was. He said it was Puglisi.
Yeah.
So Rashada's fourth string quarterback. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how far the. Huh?
I mean, that can change.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Just to me, if you're in a situation where Gunner keeps screwing up, and nothing's getting done offensively, I think you would go with the hand that has played in, major competition, and that would be Rashada.
Well, here's what I would say. You should never, as an offensive coordinator and a coach, get to where it's no longer tenable with Gunner Stockton. Run the damn ball, right? Yeah. You have an extra man in the box. If there's 5 in the box, you run it. If there's 6, you throw it out wide, sideways, and let the receiver or tight end and dump it to the tight end every once in a while. You shouldn't be putting it. I'm not saying never. And in other words, I don't worry about that. If we get to the point where we're seeing the third string quarterback in the playoffs, you're talking about that's not what you want to have happen. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But see, all right, let's talk about it because I was about to roll into it. So the playoffs happen. Georgia should have I watched Penn State. I have not been impressed at all with them. Notre Dame, obviously, I'm not impressed at all with Notre Dame. Indiana, I'm more impressed by them, but that's because of expectations. Sneaky, though, I know we all think it's going to be Penn State. Would not be shocked if Boise State pulls off the upset.
Because really? I haven't watched Boise State.
I'm just going off of vibes because I can tell you, James Franklin in a big spot, no confidence at all.
Well, that's true.
And I think Boise State, if I had a vote today, I think Alshon Jeanty should be the Heisman Trophy candidate. I mean, he's doing things that we haven't seen since Barry Sanders. So I think the guy should get the Heisman. That's just me. But I know that Colorado and Dion will do the media push thing. Whatever. Who cares? We're talking about the playoffs. That's what matters. But Georgia, their path sets up very nice. They're more talented than every team that they're going to play until they get to the national championship, whoever that may be.
Right.
They have, I would, even with a backup quarterback, still they'll be favored in every game by a touchdown or more, probably.
You think?
So if we play Penn State, that might be like a 5-point spread. But Notre Dame, we're going to be I would say a double-digit favorite. If it's Boise State, obviously it would be double-digit. And if it's Penn State, I would say it's a 5 to 7 point game. So Georgia's going to be favored in every game that they play in, and probably in the national championship they'll be favored too. So I don't know what my expectations are. I'm sure they'll change as we keep doing this. My expectation right now is for us to get into the national championship. We'll see how we look in the Sugar Bowl, obviously. But Georgia, for a team that's had the hardest schedule all year, nice, easy path to the national championship.
Easier than Tennessee, Texas, Oregon, Ohio State.
Sure.
That bracket to me is more treacherous. And there's no guarantee in my mind. Talking about that, I don't know who that's going to be on the other bracket. It may be Texas.
It could be Tennessee.
It could be. It could be. Who knows who it could be? It could be a handful of teams. In our bracket, I'm not a believer in Notre Dame. I'm not a believer in Penn State necessarily. I haven't watched Boise enough. I just don't think physically, just just pounding on. I don't think they're going to be able to hold up. I don't think they have the same type of athletes. Could be wrong. I don't know. So SMU, same thing, right? So I think they have an easier path. I think with a backup quarterback, if we're using him correctly, and the offensive line takes ownership of this thing and can get themselves healthy. That's the other thing, right? We have it. Micah Morris, Ernest Green. We need to get healthy. I'm sure this team is mentally.
Christian Miller.
Christian Miller. Yeah. We need to get all these guys healthy. But I think if we do that, and everybody steps up now that your quarterback's gone, that we've relied on too heavily, in my opinion, this year.
Yeah.
Unfairly, because you haven't surrounded him with good, with enough talent, frankly, at wide receiver. And shame on us for that, in my opinion. Yeah. But regardless, if the offensive line can take ownership and do what they did second half against Texas, I feel pretty good about us playing in the national championship. Now, what happens, like you said, what happens once we get there, I have no idea.
Yeah, I have no idea.
For this team to get that far with a backup quarterback, I'm not going to say there's any moral victories, but hot damn. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And look, we got a banner. We get to have a flag in Sanford Stadium on Saturdays, and we can look up and see the 2024 SEC Championship. So, I mean, that part of it. And Nick Saban, I mean, he lost to Georgia, and this team will always be SEC champions. So good for you. But speaking of Alabama, let's talk about the playoff for a minute, because I have my position, and I've thought about it more, running around, and it has made it even more clear that the committee did the right thing. So you want me to go ahead and give you my thing?
Sure.
All right. So obviously we know Alabama wasn't in it, 3-loss team. And the argument was really stupid. It was strength of schedule versus conference championship loser. To me, I watched the Clemson SMU game. I thought SMU did enough. They played well enough in that game to at least have an argument of being in the playoff. Now, here's the thing. We have said it all along. I think whenever it was announced last year, I said the automatic berths are stupid, which it is. I mean, look, Clemson is not a playoff team, but they're in it. The next thing that's really dumb is having the highest ranked conference champions getting a bye. Arizona State and Boise State, I don't think deserve a bye. I think Arizona State could be a sneaky team, but they don't deserve a bye. The next thing is, it's not the 12 best. It's the 12 best that are seeded. If it was the 12 best, South Carolina would be in, Alabama would be in, Ole Miss would be in. And by the way, if it was Ole Miss, I would say there's no way Georgia's going to win a national championship. I think Ole Miss has a pretty good shot. So that is the flaw with the system. And I don't know if it'll ever be corrected. It should be. Well, it will be corrected once this contract runs out. It's a 2-year contract. But in the next year, I don't know if it'll be fixed or not. I don't think it will be. So,
I was going to say, I mean, I guess given the parameters, you and I have talked about it, that we were playing under, I guess this is the best they could do in terms of getting the 12 teams in. I got no problem with Bama being out. If you want to be in, don't lose to Vandy and Oklahoma.
I totally agree. So here's what I'm seeing about Alabama fans, and this is what has bothered me. They go, well, strength of schedule clearly does not matter, and you said that.
I agree with them on that.
Well, here's the thing. Their argument, though, is that, well, the strength of schedule doesn't matter, so we should schedule Mercer and Citadel and Charlotte, whoever. Well, all three of their losses were in conference, so that doesn't work. Alabama, you lost 3 SEC games, not 3 out of conference games. So strength of schedule does matter, but here's the thing: the committee does not treats every single conference the exact same, and they are not, and that is the problem. A 9-3 Alabama is a 10 or 11-1, 10-2 at worst Big Ten team.
No, I agree with that.
So we need to look at that rather than arguing about strength of schedule, because I don't think that's where the argument is. The SEC was a deeper conference with good teams. There wasn't an elite team this year, right? We can all agree on that.
I would agree with that.
And there's not an elite team in college football. But since the SEC's deeper and has good teams, they're going to cannibalize itself. And it's not like the ACC where there's only 2 teams that are okay that limp along into the season. And I just don't understand why the committee cannot have that conversation.
Well, there's a couple things I would say. I believe the conference, SEC conference, should take a really hard look at how they schedule this thing, these schedules with these teams. Again, I don't think you can say that Texas and Georgia's schedule, even within conference, was fair.
Right.
So I think a conference can control some of that. Going back to the CFP, I don't think strength of schedules clearly doesn't matter as much. I guess they put some weight on it, but it doesn't matter. Right. I agree with the automatic buys. I'm not sure why Arizona State and Boise, right?
Yeah,
they're getting a buy. I'm not sure. Well, first of all, I can tell you I don't agree with it. And then the other thing too is the seedings in this stuff. Like Oregon, my gosh, for being the number 1 seed, they got screwed, in my opinion. So I don't really understand that.
Yeah, I mean, Penn State, the loser of the Big Ten championship, granted they have to play in 2 weeks, but they get an easier path up till the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
It's terrible for Oregon, who won the Big Ten. There should be a reward for winning. It should be an easier path.
Yeah, Penn State's got a much easier path.
Yeah. The whole thing is ass backwards to me.
And there's going to be, in some of these preliminary games, I think the one that I'm interested in is Tennessee and Ohio State. I think that'll be a interesting game. And then we're on Friday night, right? The 20th.
Yeah, Indiana, Notre Dame.
Yeah, and there's going to be weather in the Notre Dame Indiana game, right? Yeah. That's going to be interesting to see. So there's some intrigue, but you're going to have some blowouts in these games.
Like the Texas Clemson game. Clemson could shock me. They could shock the entire world. I don't think Clemson is going to go into Austin and beat Texas, unless Georgia just completely defeated their will.
I would agree with that. And here's the other thing. I don't know if I can watch that game just because there's going to be a shit ton of orange. It's going to get so from a TV. That's going to be too bright for me to watch. But I'll watch. I'm joking, but that's I don't think Clemson. I put very little on Clemson being able to beat.
We're missing another game. There's Tennessee, Ohio State, Clemson, Texas, Notre Dame, Indiana, SMU, and Penn State. Is that
right? I don't know.
Yeah, SMU's playing Penn State. What are we missing? Oh my God, this is bad. CFP playoffs. Let's see. This is great radio. I'm glad everyone can join. All right, here we go. Why won't it give you like? Oh, here we go. Indiana, Notre Dame, SMU, Penn State, Clemson, Texas, Tennessee, Ohio State. Yeah, so that's it. So, I mean, I think you got two games that are blowouts with SMU, Penn State, right? You would agree with that,
I
right?
would agree.
Clemson, Texas, I think that'll be a blowout as well, right?
I don't know if that would be a blowout. I think it's a 10-point game. It's
You
so
think so?
yeah.
Texas defense is pretty good, and Clemson's offense is so bad. So, I don't know.
Clemson's defense is pretty good though.
Yeah, that is true. Tennessee, Ohio State, that'll be, I got to tell you, I know Ohio State's going to be favored. Looking at it right now, I would take Tennessee to win that game.
Me too. And they're talking about not wanting to play it at Ohio State in case Tennessee beats them. That there just may be a full on
Right.
result. And then everybody talking about the weather. Well, first of all, it gets pretty. They got cool weather in Tennessee too.
Yeah, up on that mountain, dude. It's cold. And then Indiana, Notre Dame, obviously. That'll be the game that I think most of us are watching. I wouldn't be surprised if Notre Dame, or not Notre Dame, but Indiana keeps it a ball game. I think obviously Indiana or Notre Dame should win. But I wouldn't be shocked if Indiana, makes it a ball game.
Well, I would. I'm picking Notre Dame to win rather easily.
Yeah, I think so too. All right. Well, that is all I have to say about the playoff, as Forrest Gump would say. That's all I have to say about that. But I just think the whole system's poor, and everyone. By the way, everyone that's jerking off talking about how the SEC only had 3 teams. Ha ha ha. Trust me, the SEC's figuring out how to get more in. They will find out.
Sankey should be figuring it out,
and they will. They will. And by the way, isn't it today it's today, right? Where the the SEC schedule for next year comes out?
Oh, I don't know.
Just you wait, because they will figure something out. I guarantee you they will find a way to get in. All right. To finish up here, Nitro Tuggle gone. Not totally surprised by it. Sucks because I really think he's going to be a good wide receiver. I hate that he's gone. But, again, Georgia didn't use him whenever they should have. And I guess the argument to that would probably be, well, you got to block. You got to be able to, go and do motion. And there's a bunch of other stuff, but blocking is number one. Maybe he wasn't the best at that. So he's gone. Daniel, isn't it Daniel? Not Daniel Harris.
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson. He's gone. Depending on which way you look at it. And then David Daniel. That's who I was talking about. He was dismissed from the team, but I guess because he's dismissed in July and couldn't hit the portal, now that counts against us. So he's leaving as well. He left, or he was dismissed on rules violation. If you don't remember, he was the one, like, first week of school at Georgia. For his first week of school, he got ran over by a bus and broke his leg. So wish him the best of luck in that regard. Who else? Am I missing anyone else? Obviously, TikTok Boy's gone.
Yeah. We talked about that last time, but no, I don't know of any other ones. But I agree with you with Nitro Tuggle. When your receivers are struggling as much as they have been this year, why not use the kid? I know we used him a little bit, but not enough, in my opinion. Hence, is the reason he's leaving. Georgia's. They're going to have to do some things at the wide receiver position. I'm glad we're in the SEC championship. I'm glad we won it. Glad we're going to the playoffs. But the biggest underperforming group has been the wide receiver. And that seems to be that was one of the groups that I really had high hopes for coming into the year. But when you got Rock getting kicked off, Colby Young, what happened. Then we've got a contagious drop disease going around. It's a group that we're going to have to improve on. So I hate to see him go, but hopefully, we've got some kids coming in, or we can go to the portal, pick up some more. But anyway.
Well, here's the other thing. I was looking to see if anyone else transferred because it could change any minute. I think I've heard, and I talked about it previously, Georgia could lose up to 40 players. I don't know if that's the case, but I'm sure it's that number is probably close. We're bringing in a lot of talent at wide receiver. There's also like 20 million wide receivers that have hit the portal. I know Georgia is at least interested in 3 that have already hit the portal. So the kid from Tech that transferred, and then another. I know there's 2 Kentucky wide receivers that are transferring. I know Georgia's interested in 1, and also Cam Coleman from Auburn, who I think is a really good wide receiver, George Pickens-esque wide receiver, who also hit the portal, which he should have. I mean, who the hell would want to be in that mess over there? So, Georgia is going to be talking to guys. We'll see what they do with the wide receiver group. But again, how much are you willing to spend, and how much are you willing to put up with stuff, and who's going to buy into the culture? I mean, to me, that's the biggest thing. I mean, you see Trevor Etienne after the game. He's like, "This is the whole reason why you come to Georgia."
Yeah, that was the other thing we haven't talked about, and I know we're getting long here, but that we talked about it a couple times at the beginning. But if you look at Etienne, Dalen Everett, Gunnar Stockton, all of them said they just wanted to do I wanted to do the best that I could for my teammates,
Right.
And it's nothing about me or thumping their chest or anything like that. I think that goes a long way in today's college football with the transfer portal and NIL, that Kirby's able to get everybody to buy in. That's huge.
Yeah, it is. All right. Well, I think we'll end it there. We'll be back Thursday. Don't know what we're going to do. We'll come up with something by then, hopefully.
Know more about Carson.
Well, yeah, for sure. We'll know more about Carson. We'll know more about, transfer portal stuff too as well. So it might be a house cleaning podcast. Anyway, remember to check us out on all social medias, Terminus Sports _ATL on Instagram, TikTok, Julian Humphrey, and Twitter. And then also remember to like, subscribe. We got a couple more subscribers, so thank you. Appreciate it. Keep subscribing. Comment. Give us your opinion on the Georgia game. Give us your opinion on the playoff. Tell us about transfers who you'd like to see that Georgia can get out of the portal so far. And then our presenting sponsor, Unishippers, give us a pitch.
We work with small to medium-sized clients on helping them reduce their shipping cost. We are business partners with UPS on the small pack side, so anything from envelopes all the way up to containers and pallets. So if you think your shipping's out of control or you're spending too much, feel free to reach out to Unishippers Atlanta and ask for Holland Martin.
All right. Shout out Holland. Shout out the Dogs. 2024 SEC champions. Feels pretty good. All right. We'll see you on the other side.
See ya.